18:30 on the dot, another Tuesday, another opportunity to change the menopause narrative. Conversations for us by us. I am so looking forward to tonight. I see that Sandy is the first one to get through today. Hello, Sandy. Hello, youngster, joy, peace, and laughter, shaping the learner. Marianne Plummer, good evening, ladies. Welcome to our live. Every Tuesday, we make sure that we start exactly on time because an hour can go by so fast. And it is a confirmation to say that menopause conversations are so broad and we need more than an hour, we need more than a Tuesday to change the menopause narrative. I am so excited for tonight. It is the first time this year that we are tackling menopause in the workplace conversations. And I feel like I have so many questions for Amelia, but I will do my best not to hog her to myself. Having said that, please feel free to drop any comments, any questions that you might have linked to menopause in the workplace, any observations that you might have. This is not just about me talking to Amelia by myself, but this needs to be an interactive conversation for all of us. Let me see. Amelia has joined us. Let me send her a request to join through. And as I said, ladies, this conversation is not just about me, but it is for all of us. Let us get the comments section going. Technology gremlins will not sabotage us. While we are waiting, okay, let us see. Seems like things are moving fast. Yes, we're going live. Yay, let's do the countdown. 5. Oh, yeah. Good evening, Amelia. Right. And welcome to the by Gugu Mabi. Thank you so very much for joining us live. Hello, Amelia. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kolisha, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm great. And how are you?
Very well, thank you. So lovely to speak to you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. I was just saying before you came on how excited I am about tonight's conversation. And I feel like I already have so many questions, but I'm going to make sure that I do not hog you to myself. Hence, I'm encouraging everybody else to start commenting with any other questions that they might have relating to the topic that I know is very close to your heart, changing the menopause narrative in the workplace.
Yes.
So welcome. An hour goes by so fast, so I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to dig already into the icebreaker for the evening, and I will just choose the first part of it. And the icebreaker is always, what did you know about menopause growing up?
Well, I didn't know much about it growing up because my mother was very young when we were born, and we didn't really experience much of it. And through my life, I have kind of always thought it was some old people's thing or old women's thing. And my life really changed at the age of 42, where I started having full blown menopause, and I'm now 53, and I'm hoping to start seeing the back end of it, but still very much with me.
Okay. I think every Tuesday there seems to be a common thread that most of us growing up, we did not know much about menopause. And I am just anticipating that the more we normalize these conversations, if we were to interview the future generation, we will get a completely different answer. I believe that we are on the right track in making sure that they fare better than most of us did when we were thrust into it.
No, absolutely. I think, I've been talking to I've got 3 girls, And I've been talking to them for from a young age about it, and they've learned more already just from the fact that wanting to change this narrative around the dining room table, in in conversations with families, and then most importantly in the boardroom. My daughter would often ask me, "So, what do you think would happen if I go and ask my boss about this?" And I said,
Mm.
"Well, that is exactly where our journey is going. It must be the same as going to ask him for going to the doctor because you have um, appendicitis or something like that. It must be as normal as anything else that we go and speak to people around us about."
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. And I really hope that every woman that is part of this conversation, and men also, they take a leaf of out of what you've just shared with us, that they start having those slight conversation. Obviously, it might be a bit uncomfortable at first, but it all starts with that scratching the surface, and then it can grow
Yeah.
deeper as time progresses. And I'm grateful that you've just brought your other side of life, your hat as a mother with your three daughters, because we can always Google who Amelia is, and we can find so many other things.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is it that you can share with us about who you are that we cannot find on Google?
I'm sure you can find many things on Google, but I am the very proud mother of three beautiful daughters. They are all out of school. This is my first year that I have nobody left at home. And everyone asks me, how does it feel to be an empty nester? And my answer is always no. I am a bird launcher, not an empty nester, because we've really worked and loved our children through many years of growing up to be able to send them off and let them fly, give them roots that are strongly rooted, but they're all flying, and it's so wonderful to see. My oldest daughter is getting married this year, and it is just, yeah, such a special year for us.
That's beautiful. So you're going to be mother of the bride at some point soon this
Well,
year.
I would like to be like a funky mother of the bride, not looking like I'm old and done, but yeah, I really look forward to be there with my daughter and experience this and be a beautiful and graceful mother of the bride.
That's beautiful. I see Moteo has commented that I love that question. Moteo is joining us all the way from China. He
Oh,
is my
wow.
ex-colleague from the national airline, and I can imagine that in China already it's towards early morning because they're ahead of us. So thank you so very much, Moteo, for joining us and for adding your
Lovely
comment.
to have you, Mateo.
That's beautiful. My next question was going to be, where do you fall on the menopause spectrum? But I think you kind of scratched and touched the surface when you said that at 42, that's where menopause hit, and now you are sort of just going through it. If you don't mind, can you just share a bit for us how your experience has been thus far, and how did you get into it? And yeah.
Yeah, I've been into it for such a long time that I almost can't remember what life is without it. And as
Mm,
I start going through days where I'm not hot anymore, or I don't feel all the symptoms that you go through, it's almost unreal because for the last 11 years of my life, I've been experiencing most notably hot flashes of the absolute ultimate extent. We laugh about it in the office because I've started talking about it so often that everybody knows what it is that we are going through, and some of my colleagues that are here on the line we always try out the latest inventions. What is there? Fans around our necks or under the desk or anything just to survive. But I think the thing that has, for me, in a professional capacity, probably been the hardest thing is that sometimes I simply forget something. And you have this brain that, is brilliant at everything else, but in that very moment, you simply can't remember what you were going to say or what you were meant to do or what you were supposed to remember. And that I've been drinking a lot of supplements to train my brain. I've been working hard with my brain to continue to stay with me. But I think that's something that happens and that people don't always realize what it is. And yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to have a wonderful partner, and he would help me, remind me to write things down or remember for me what I'm supposed to do in those moments of forgetfulness.
We can never underestimate the importance and the role a supportive, clued up partner plays in supporting us through this journey. So we'd like to salute him, and we are hoping that more and more men are going to be more clued up. It seems like men are shy and embarrassed to bring up the menopause conversations. So it's always wonderful to hear about men that are so open about it, so supportive, and also he knows when to step in, because he coexists with you and you've got this rhythm that you've got together.
Yeah.
He knows when to step in to cover you, you know.
Yeah. And also, I think not only men that are embarrassed about it, I find so often that even very senior women at director level and board level are uncomfortable with this conversation because they worry about what people are going to say or what is going to happen if they raise it. And that has been, for me, really such an important drive in what we are doing with this changing the narrative, but also just making people aware what it is, and that every single woman, bar probably 1% that's not going to go through it to an extent that they will experience the symptoms, but every single woman, whether it's yourself, it's your mother, it's your children now at a young age, as you know well about perimenopause, that we have to just make it as normal, as I said earlier, as appendicitis, or when your heart's taking strain, you go to a cardiologist and you make lifestyle changes. And for menopause, that's what you need to do. You need to make lifestyle changes.
Very so true. I'm glad that you've actually brought up female executives, and I still have a question that I will bring up later in our chat. And before I move on, for everybody else that might be wondering as to why I felt the need to invite you, as I explained that I've had the pleasure of seeing your passion firsthand. You do not just talk the talk, you walk the talk. You do not just show up and show face, then disappear. You continuously there in making sure that the wheels are changing. Because I mean, for example, the GNM invisibility reports, I'm just going to share some of the statistics so that those that are not clued up might just get the picture as to why we keep going on about changing this menopause narrative. 88% of women wish that their workplace were better set up for menopausal colleagues. 52% of menopausal women, they say that their employers, they know nothing or very little about menopause. Nearly 30% of women, they've taken sick leave when they were not really sick, but because they could not straight up admit as to what they were dealing with, so they opted to use their sick leave, and they felt like they cannot explain that due to shame and embarrassment. And more women feel supported by their colleagues, which is 48%, by their managers, which is 32%. And these figures speaks to the need and the importance that we cannot reserve this conversation only for October, when it's World Menopause Awareness Month. It needs to be an everyday conversation because women are transitioning into menopause every day, whether naturally or due to certain autoimmune diseases, certain cancers, certain surgeries. Hence, also, nobody can say that I am too young to be part of these conversations, because you mentioned earlier, it can happen much earlier these days than what we have been led to believe.
Yeah.
And having said that, what really brought your passion? What keeps you going to continue? Because I mean, it's not like a cool topic or subject, menopause. Normally, sometimes people get that glazed over look when you mention menopause. They fidget, they want to change the topic. So what keeps you going? What keeps stoking your passion to keep wanting to change the narrative?
I am passionate about something bigger than just menopause, and menopause is just a very important pillar of that. So, I'm passionate about inclusivity, and at Liberty 2 Degrees, together with my human capital or chief people officer Yongi, we've really been driving an inclusive culture in every form that we possibly can. So we are very diverse business in age, in gender, in culture, and now you almost get to a point that says diverse. Now what? And we've been driving inclusivity really very very passionately in terms of the things that we do. And as we started, um, I came across some reading. I do a lot of reading, and I came across some reading of people in the UK specifically that started bringing this narrative into the workplace. The Deloitte chair have been talking about it for a while, and I thought, that's really something that we should bring into our conversations around inclusivity, because how can we say we are inclusive but we don't do something for women that going through menopause, and we don't do something for men and colleagues that we work with to understand what it means, and um, how can they help and support. And that's really where it started. And that's where I guess first met you, is also through the work that I've been doing with Colleen from Business Engage, and we've involved life healthcare in that as well. And I'm a firm believer in setting bold targets. I don't shy away from big things and then really driving hard towards it. And for me, this whole conversation about changing the narrative around menopause is it's a hairy goal. People like, why would you even think about doing that? And I think it's not just because I'm in menopause, or I know many people that are. It's because I really want to make a difference to the people around me, and to those that I lead, and to those that I come in contact with in industry, and in the Greater Standard Bank Group, of which we are a part of.
That's wonderful to know. I love that, as you said, that I mean, your vision is bigger than menopause. You're all about inclusion, diversity, and your team also from age, it's diverse genders and all of that. So that is very beautiful. And I see that youngster Yongi just said hello, everyone. Hello, Yongi. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And I see also Gift Bright said, hey, people. Hey, Gift Bright. And moving on to our next question. When your career started, what was the menopause landscape like at the time in the corporate arena?
When my career started, which is now 25 years ago, never mind menopause, there were no women around us, and there were very few and far between women in the property industry, which I'm a proud part of. And I guess over the years, the conversation was really around bringing women to the table, giving them their rightful place, and helping and mentoring people into really becoming take their position in the corporate world. So menopause certainly was not a conversation there. I mean, I probably can't remember talking about menopause other than to my very close friends until the last 3 years, or maybe a little bit longer. So for a very long time, it was certainly not something that got spoken about. But it's an evolution. It's a journey. We've come so far in the world of changing just the general narrative about women and what we can achieve and how we can have a rightful place at where the big things in the corporate world and business world happen, that menopause has become a natural progression of that, and we can start talking about it without feeling uncomfortable. And at some point, I realized that I hold a leadership role in the industry. I hold a leadership role in the group, and if I'm comfortable about talking about it, the people that look at me and watch me will start seeing that it is not that embarrassing, and you can talk about it, and that example is so important. And I truly hope that all the young people that work for us, men and women, because I think menopause is not a woman's thing. Menopause is a human thing. And that everybody would become comfortable about talking to how it impacts you and what we can do to help each other and to educate around what can be done at home or anywhere in society, really.
It is true what you're saying, that menopause is not just a female conversation, but it's a human conversation. A few weeks ago, I was part of the Women's Forum for IQ Business. And one of the ladies mentioned that she was pleasantly surprised when she mentioned that we were going to be having a session for menopause. And one of the young men started going on about menopause. And she says she was so shocked as to how do you know so much about menopause? And then he explained that his mom went into it, and that's what got him interested, because he felt like, if I love my mom and I want to be able to support her, then I need to be as clued up as possible. I
Yes,
am
absolutely.
concurring what you are saying, that indeed men need to be part of these conversations, and from as early of an age as possible. And also, to add what you said, I think every other time in the workplace, in the corporate space, there's going to be a different movement or a change that women need to band together for. Because as the now generation, most of us, when we get to the workplace, things like maternity leave, the benefits and all of that that come with it are a given. But back then, some women had to lead that change,
Yeah.
to advocate for this to become a thing. Hence, now we are finding ourselves then saying that now that is done, it's a thing. Then the next one is this, because as you alluded earlier, it is a phase of life that almost every woman in the workplace will go into. And
But
this,
also, I just want to add, I think it's such a beautiful thing that we can look back and see how employment policies are changing because of the change that we bring about. And I think, my invitation to women is really to see this as really an opportunity to bring change to society and not to bemoan the fact that it's not there. Because if we can see that balanced perspective, you get much further, much quicker. And the moment you do something for something bigger outside yourself, that flame of purpose starts to burn, and women become powerful forces of change. And I think that's really something that should be celebrated all the time.
true. To add to that, I feel like this conversation is taking a beautiful organic direction. As you're talking about women having to band together. I always say, at 46, postmenopausal, never had children, not going to have children. I am always willing to lend my voice to anything that is pro-pregnant women, pro-maternity leave, because I totally understand that we all are going to need something at some point in our lives. So even a young one can say that, but menopause is too far from me. Why should I participate in those conversations? One day it might be you might not be there, but you might need another support from this age group or from these women or these men. So it is always important that we all band together for the greater good of how we thrive in our workplaces, because we spend so much time there.
Absolutely. And you know, I think what is you see now, this is exactly what happens to me. My train of thought as I start listening to you. But what I wanted to say is supporting each other in all. It becomes kind of a thing that people do versus just creating support for pregnancy or for maternity leave. It becomes the way of being, supporting each other in doing things that makes us better human beings and touch people at the core of their being. You know, I recall my youngest daughter is just turning 20, and with my first two, I had the privilege to stay at home and didn't have to work. The last one I did work, and I was in early stages of my career, and I was so scared that if I take proper maternity leave, that something's going to happen to my job, because that was the environment that was there. And if I look back now, I realize how unbelievably naive that was of me, that if I had just voiced the fact that I want to take proper maternity leave, I will come back, I give my full commitment to the business, there's nobody that would have said, no, you can't do that. And and I think, you know, I think it's one thing to support each other. It's one thing to get businesses to become more aware about menopause. But it is really important that if you are in a position where you need something, that you bring that voice to the table, and that you at least look for an environment where you can have that voice. Because I understand well that it's not available everywhere, and that in some places it's just not a thing that you can talk about. But the more we do it, the more confident we ourselves getting, the more this will just become a normal conversation.
So true. And before I move on, I am so glad that Izzy has posted a comment, because I was starting to get worried that I'm holding you to myself. Nobody is asking anything or commenting. So thank you so much, Izzy, for let me see what you said. You in agreement. You came back from maternity leave and found out that you were pregnant again. You were so afraid of what would happen to your job. I'm so glad that you were able to navigate it, because I would have loved to hear how did you obviously handle all of that. But I guess because it's a comment section, so you can't share the whole experience. But it is indeed up to us to speak up. And if we do, then we also give permission and empower others with other things. For example, Saturday, I met a lady that is struggling from PCOS. And she was saying that with PCOS, she struggles so much and it affects her day to day. Ooh, I'm sad. Is that your cat?
Yes.
I'm glad that it's on camera. But that lady was saying that she struggles from PCOS, and some days it's even difficult to just perform day to day. And she was wishing that there was people that were doing work around PCOS awareness. And my response to her was, you can be the start.
Yeah.
Start where you are. What if in your company also, there is other women that are struggling with that. And you are all operating in solitude, struggling, suffering in solitude. So women's health is so broad in the workplace, and everybody has got, I think, a baton that they can take up based on whichever that is closest to their heart.
Yeah.
And that is when we'll be able to get so much transformation happening in the workplace, women taking ownership and being able to speak up of whatever that they are dealing with, so that they continuously are able to show up at work, perform at their optimum best, because everything has been normalized. There is inclusivity. Everybody can remove their masks. And this question has been waiting because they keep getting more things to say. My next question was, does Liberty 2 Degrees have a menopause policy? And if there is, what was the process of adopting it? And if there isn't, is there any plan of doing so?
So Liberty 2 Degrees, as I said, we have an organization that have got a real clear intent as to how we want to drive the inclusivity to a place where everyone belongs. And whilst I really believe policies are necessary, we are a small organization, and by us, it's easier to have the conversation and make something part of the culture than to just bring out a policy and hope everyone is going to join in. So for us, we work long around the process of inculcating something into our culture, because that way it becomes a way of being and a way of living. In our organization. We are forming part of a much larger group, and we are busy with work in the group, Standard Bank Group, to see what we can do to change this for all women around the group. And as you know, Xoli, we have launched last week together with Business Engage and Life Healthcare the Meno Move toolkit, or Meno Move as a kind of a new process or a new tool that will help corporates how to do this, because often people want to do it, but it just seems like one step too far and too many things to do on top of a difficult economy and having to make profit and all those things. So that toolkit that Colleen developed is really so powerful, and we are currently engaging with big corporates to make that part of their workplace policies. So it will be interesting to see how this landscape has changed in the next year, because there are now practical things that people can use to improve their environments that they have in their offices.
Exciting times ahead when it comes to that. And as you say, it's all about taking small steps and also checking whether they are making the desired impact. For example, it has always been so beautiful to see how all of these conversations that have been planned, the turnout has always been full house.
Right.
And it speaks to the need of the menopause toolkits, as you say, how to get everybody involved in their capacity. Because I've had conversations with some people to say that this change is almost like a pyramid. There's obviously the exec level, but it needs to trickle all the way down to the lady that is working in the cafeteria, the lady that is cleaning the offices, to the gentleman that is welcoming you at the gate, because they are all part of the organization at the end of the day. And the beauty of this is the information is gleaned or received from the workplace, but everybody that gets the knowledge, then they take it away and it benefits more than the people that belong in the organizations.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
inspires different conversations in families, in social circles, in men's forums. So I am excited to see the direction of Men of Movement, what it's
Yeah,
gonna do in the menopause landscape.
definitely. You'll see a lot more of it, and I just, I don't think Colleen is here, but just to acknowledge her for coming from a conversation over lunch where we spoke about this, and she made our dream come true to have something that we can now launch to corporate South Africa and hopefully in Africa, because I think the need is far and wide on the continent as well.
Yes, the need is far and wide. When I was having a high tea with the VC last year at UJ, one of the students came out to me afterwards and asked me if I spoke French. And I had no clue as to why he would be asking me that. And then
Yeah,
he said that I wish you could have a conversation with my mom in DRC. So
yeah,
as you
yeah.
say, these conversations are still gonna go beyond just our borders. And yeah, time is moving by so fast. Before I get to my next question, which speaks to women being able to advocate for themselves in their organizations that are not big on inclusivity and diversity and all. Yet again, the reasons that women have shared for struggling to talk about their menopause struggles and issues at work is firstly, they feel that they do not know their line managers well enough to be able to go and speak to them. Others say that they are not sure if their manager will be sympathetic, empathetic, understanding, supportive. In others, they feel that their symptoms might be too embarrassing to share. You see, when we started earlier, I mean, you openly shared about your biggest current struggles because you've had conversations with yourself as to how you want to navigate this phase of life for yourself. And you can put it out there. As I'm sitting here, I always say I always have my pen close by just in case. I've got my ice water because
Yes.
acknowledgement is always the first step. And others, they feel that they will not be taken seriously. I've had that experience also when I was still working for the national carrier, where I got used to speaking to my seniors before getting on a flight to say, this is what I'm dealing with. Can I please work on this part of the aircraft because it's cooler?
Yeah.
Then at least I won't struggle much. I don't have to struggle with issues of balance. And because, for example, business class is high paced, the passengers have got an
Yeah.
expectation. So if you're going to be getting a brain fog during that moment, it might just be the nail that is going to break the camel's back, because sometimes you find a passenger that is already agitated and you getting their order wrong or asking them to repeat it can be that moment where they're going to blow up. So they are irritated and you are affected, and then the ripple effect goes on. So this senior said to me when I asked him, he's like, no, you'll be fine. My sister went through it.
Mm.
And to me, his response was very flippant because I'm like, but I'm not your sister. This is my experience, and you
Yeah.
need not to just shrug it off or invalidate it. So that it boils to this point where, as I said, they feel that they will not be taken serious. And then others are worried also about confidentiality,
Yeah.
that if they speak up about it, what might happen. And also, the last point, others are worried that their job security and promotion opportunities might be taken away. This was just leading me to this question. How would you advise then women to be able to advocate for themselves in companies that are not as open, that are not as inclusive?
Yeah. So those fears, those feelings, those things are all very real, and we should acknowledge them and understand that that is how people feel, and there's nothing wrong with feeling like that. However, if we don't take steps forward, we're never going to know if there is an opportunity to talk about it and how it will land. So, firstly, I think you need to get yourself a very simple narrative about it, and however you want to talk about it, to say, make sure that you don't go there, stumble over your words, don't know what you want. So prepare before you have that first conversation, and take small steps. Take small, very small steps. Shuffle if you must. Um, because in taking a small step just to start having the conversation with a colleague that you're familiar with, so don't just go straight to the boss if you are concerned about those things. Start creating for yourself a circle of people around you that will hold the space whilst you go forward and have this conversation. So really, my advice would be, for anything really, not just for menopauses, but if you have something that you want to discuss, you're nervous, you're scared, first do it with somebody that you're familiar with, your friend in the office, the person that you drink coffee with. Brainstorm about how best it will land with the person that you need to talk to. Relationships overcome everything in the end. So if you have a good relationship with anyone more senior in the organization, try that person. So follow a line of familiarity until you actually have enough courage and enough boldness, but also enough support if it goes wrong, that you can go back because they knew you were having that conversation. And I find that that is a way to tackle anything that's difficult in large organizations. You don't just go out there like a bull into a red cloth and try and make sure it goes your way. Small steps, prepare, form your circle, and keep them close around you. I have a group of women that we call the Turning Point Group, and it's a holy circle because anything and everything that happens, we take there and we debate it and we figure out a way how to best raise it. And because everyone is diverse and come from a different place, they give you information and input that just helps you take these little steps along the way. There is enormous small steps, but every day one step forward. Don't turn back, don't give up, because you are doing it not for yourself, but for so many people around you.
Wow. Wow, that was just so amazing. I can stand up and just give a round of applause. Like the nuggets that you've given are so amazing. I'm sure you saw me. I was just jotting them down because I feel like there's people that I'm gonna have to hide and share them with. So thank you so much for that.
My
And
beautiful dear sister has just joined as well, Priscilla.
Hello, Priscilla. And I've pinned Izzy's comment, which is also tied to Sandy's comment. Izzy saying also the stigma around it. It's an invisible disease, for lack of a better word. And Sandy concurred and said, yes, an invisible disease that so many women are embarrassed or afraid to talk about. And I think that is the whole point of having all of these conversations and different platforms to reach as many women as possible. As you said, that it's all about small step, small step. If we get one woman to see that there is no shame around this, then we are making great stride. Then another woman, another woman.
I'll
Sunday,
go
I
far.
had.
I wanted to say, I'll go as far as to say that people in the South African corporate and workplace, not corporate, but workplace landscape, if you really have a dire need and you cannot have that conversation and just don't know how to do it, message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find me, and I will help you. Because this is a conversation that is so important, that we grow people that feel comfortable and strong enough to go and take that step forward. And I'll hold your
Mm.
hand until you are able to go and take that step yourself.
Thank you so very much for offering that. And I hope that even those that are gonna watch this live later, they really gonna get the essence of what you've just offered them, that nobody should have to struggle. If anything, as the last resort, you are definitely open to walk with them, hold their hand. They do not have to have met you. They do not have to know you on a first name basis, but they just need to reach out to you, and that's it. So thank you in advance for that. And I was just saying, as a by the way, that on Sunday I happened to sit next to a lady at the Johannesburg Festival of Women Writers, and the lady just said she didn't know anything about the festival, but she ended up being there. And she ended up being in the panel that was also listening to the panel that was talking about ageism and all of that. And as she gleaned information, she had her own aha moment. She says that the reason that she resigned from her job in one of the things was because of her struggle with menopause. And at that time, she did not know that that exactly is what was happening. She just was treating the symptoms in isolation, not able to connect the dots because of the lack of conversations and I guess normalizing this kind of information sharing sessions. So I am hoping that whoever that is going to listen to this is really going to get that lifeline, because relatability plays a huge role, knowing that you're not by yourself. Everything that you're going through is not new under the sun. There is
Yeah.
women that are going through it.
Yes.
Easy is saying, thank you for being willing to straighten my crown when it's slipping. Love that we can support each other through this. Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
This is just so beautiful. This is amazing. We've got 10 minutes to go. Jeez. My next question is, and I know that you touched on it earlier when we were talking about female executives, and I said that I had the question that I would like to tie to your comment later. So my question is, do you believe that female executives have a responsibility to steer their organizations to be menopause inclusive, more so than their male counterparts?
No, I believe that all executives have the responsibility to ensure that this conversation takes place. But what I believe is that female executives have a role to play in making this conversation comfortable, because we have a role already where we are recognized for what we do, and we are there because we can do the job. So we're not there's the feeling of being threatened because you're going to talk about menopause is a lot less. But it shouldn't rest on female executives only. Leaders in South Africa should become inclusive in how they think, what they do, and if they're not, we must help them, not blame them. And it's such a fine line. But I was thinking about your colleague earlier, that the woman that sat next to you and writing at the writers' festival, saying that she had to leave her job. The world is always in perfect balance. So the fact that she had that hardship of having had to leave her job for that purpose, means that she is going to have the other side of the coin as a result of that. And if we as human beings can believe that for every left side of the coin there's a right side. For every wrong there's a right. For every right there's a wrong. People should never go too much on their high horses because you're gonna fall off. That's for sure. But the same thing, if you have lost your job because your menopausal symptoms were too much and you couldn't cope there is one hell of an opportunity out for you to make a huge difference in this world outside. It's all our responsibility.
Wow, no, I totally believe in that for every wrong, there's a right. And it only makes sense in hindsight normally, which is why it's important that we always sit and take stock, always introspect, look back, and take the lessons and move forward. As I was listening to you explaining the difference between the responsibility and the role, and you mentioned obviously that there is certain privileges that come with female executives. I remember this other one also was saying that when she was transitioning into menopause and she was struggling with certain things, some days, if she felt like she had not slept properly, she could pick up the phone, please move my meetings, cancel this, do that. And then life will continue. And the next question to her was, it's wonderful that for her, she had that benefit. But what about the women at the lower level that do not have the benefit of just picking up the phone? I can't show up to work today, or let me work from home, let me work at a later shift if you're working shift work. So how do we ensure that the women that are at the top level, they remember that as much as they might have certain privileges for them to transition better, then they should not be detached about the rest of the women that do not have that privilege.
That's such an important thing, is to always send the elevator down when you've got to the top. But what I would say is that the work that we're doing under the Men Who Move banner is for exactly that purpose. It's to educate the whole organization about what women need to take care, firstly, of their emotional needs, because I think the physical needs is one thing, and if you're hot, you can have a fan on your desk, and you can make sure you go sit near the air conditioner. But that emotional trauma, in a way, that you go through, firstly because you don't know what's happening to you, and then when you know what's happening to you, you always wonder, how's this going to impact me? Am I going to become completely useless, or am I ever going to be better? And the Men Who Move work is going to be to make sure that people know what others need, and organizations become aware of this. Happens to everyone, not just the people at the top, and nobody should be able to cancel meetings, and other people should have to push through because it's just expected of them. It's not human. We are all human beings, and in the workplace, as a human being, nobody is above another one. And I know it sounds, maybe people will say it's easy for me to say that because I sit at the top of an organization, but I can tell you I become human and sit next to the person in the kitchen that goes through that, because that is how we have to transform the South African workforce, to be able to see each other as human beings and to work towards creating that for everyone. And that's why this voice that we have, this advocacy role, to be able to push this forward, is incredibly important, because it's much harder for somebody from another organization to say to me that, no, we're not going to allow our people to take time off because they're not feeling well today, than it is to say it to their own people. And we need more and more and more people talking about it, so that it becomes like a wave, flows through what we do in the country.
Thank you so much for that. I'm not sure whether you saw the hearts that were just all over the screen as you were responding. 100 people just loving your response, more hearts coming up. So thank you so very much for that.
And my youngest daughter is there too.
Yeah, geez, more, more hearts again. Marianne had a comment, and I see that it had also connecting agreements from some of the ladies. Marianne was saying, I think at a primary level, women need to be educated at what menopause is. All that stuff that has started taking away from your quality of life, it's not you. It is a stage of life. And Easy agreed. It's a scary path. Feels like you're losing a part of yourself. Nobody talks about the emotional side and the psychological side, if I might add also, Lizzie. And to me, yet also agreed with Marianne, saying to also unpack those changes and how to accommodate them to your daily life or routine. What kind of support can corporates give? So she ended up her comment with a question. So I don't know whether you would like to respond to that last question from
Yeah.
me.
I think again, what MenoMove is going to do is create education packs so that people are educated about all the things that can happen to them. They'll have access to the medical profession. You know, I'm not a doctor in any form, so I don't know of all the things that can happen. But we are creating a panel of doctors that will be able to assist psychologists that work with us. And it's also our own responsibility to educate ourselves. We can't just wait for everyone out there to do it. The working world has to do it. The government has to get involved and assist and educate women. Maybe a little more difficult, and because it's probably not high on their priority list, but it should be in the Minister of Women and Children. And then anyone that are able to share information should do more and more of that, and create groups around yourself that can form your holy circle, where people can share what's happening in their lives in a place that is safe, and where you feel that you can be sharing what you are feeling. And my last comment on that would be, you are not menopause. You are you, and menopause is something that happens to you. But you are not menopause. You might be menopausal, but you are not menopause. So stay where you are, be grounded in your own being, and treat menopause as something that is happening to you, not something that you become. And that way, you somehow stay sane through that. You take small steps forward. You have circles around you. You educate yourself. You read as much as you can so that you know what's going on. And make sure that you have somebody that's close to you that understand what you're going through, and for really loving you for who you are, not the menopausal person that you become.
No, well put. I am sure that Tumi was able to jot that down. And if not, then Tumi, I'm gonna save this live so you will be able to watch it later. And I see that yes, your daughter is just so super proud of you. I could sense the excitement in how she typed and everything that she said. And also Kinesh is saying Liberty Femme is here. Tembisile gave a heart. Priscilla Bonza, thank you for this amazing initiative. Dumisani is saying, I love this Liberty Champs platform. This is very informative. Thank you. Sandy is saying, thank you, Amelia and Xoli, for shining a light on this for all the women in South Africa. Jimmy said, thank you. And yeah, thank you, Amelia and Xoli. Amazing. I did say that an hour goes by so fast. And I think I'm not even gonna go on the other questions that I had. Oh, Yongi is saying, thank you for your amazing leadership, Amelia. We all belong, and the hearts are just flying all over the screen. I know that normally you have.
Can I say to you something as maybe as we are closing? You are doing amazing work, and we should salute you for the information that you bring, for the platforms that you bring, and for the space that you provide for us to have this conversation. I'm certainly in awe of what you've gone through, your book, and everybody should try and get Xoli's book. It's an amazing thing to read, and it really inspires me to know that there are people with us in this, like you, that we can continue to work with to spread this news.
Thank you so very much. Let's just keep joining hands. We all are gonna collectively make, I think, a change in this landscape, and we'll look back and be like, when we started, it seemed like we were not making big enough strides. But I was saying earlier to my husband that it's been so amazing listening to different women. The moment they know about the work that we are doing, then they open up, they remove the mask, and they share. So I am looking forward to hearing so many different stories so that we can see that we are not menopause, but menopause is exactly that, a phase of life. And I was saying that normally I know that you write amazing poems, and I wish I could have thought about it to say that please bring one poem from your collection to share for everybody that was going to be joining us tonight. And I did not think of it.
I'll post something.
Thank you so much. And then any last words, parting shots, and maybe we'll have a part 2 of this when time permits again, because I think we could see that there was just so much that was coming up. So who knows?
Yeah, my last thought will be that there is, for a very good reason, a pause in menopause. So make sure that you use moments of pause to just get yourself as sorting yourself out and find a way to move forward being you and not being the menopausal you. Pause is such an important thing. It's a beautiful tool that we have. And my wish for all of you is to use that to just make your life more and more beautiful every day.
Here's to beautiful life every day. Love that. And just the last words, thank you so much for all you do. That is from Shaping the Learner. Yongi, Xoli, we are in it with you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Dumisani is saying, yes, part 2, please. And Dumi also says, absolutely, part 2 needed. Tembisile says, part 2, please. And thank you, ladies. Joined late. Having said that, we are about 3 minutes after past. Thank you so very much for your patience as we went over time.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. See you at the next one. I'm saving this live. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.